Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful. And for the faithful, I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how you doing tonight?
Good, I guess. Uh, yeah, that was one of the biggest sequences of pain in the Edmonton Oilers franchise history, giving up that lead to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the second period, Bruce. And what can you say? It was just, it was rancid. The Oilers lost 7-4 after leading in this game 3-1. But Toronto did have the flow of play tonight. To be fair, some of that related to the refereeing in the game. When the Oilers got up, the refs stopped. When the Oilers got up, the refs stopped calling penalties on Toronto. Anyway, the flow of play was 18 grade A shots for the Leafs, 10 for the Oilers. And when it comes to the subcategory of 5 alarm shots, even more dangerous shots, Toronto had 10 and the Oilers had 5. So it was a weird game. And I found a particularly hard game to grade Stuart Skinner, because 18 grade A shots is a lot of shots. And, 10 5 alarm shots is a lot of 5 alarm shots. The expected goals would be about 5 against for that amount of shots. And he did let in 6. So, but the grade A shots they had were of the highest quality, Bruce. It was a very, very difficult game for the goalie, and I couldn't really fault him on a lot. Anyway, we're going to go to our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. Bruce, what do you say? Good thing.
Oh, good thing? Yeah, okay. I'm going to go with the play of Nick Bjugstad, who I've kind of liked ever since he's come on board. I like what he brings. What caught my eye in this game was a couple of 200-foot back checks where he took his man all the way back into the defensive corner and then finished him off into the boards. And he actually earned an assist on a play, something like that, where he came back deep into his own territory. And the puck popped free to Evan Bouchard, who was able to hit Connor McDavid with the puck, and good things happened thereafter. I think he seems like a reliable guy. Like, he's smart. He's in good position a lot. He's okay on the dot. He just does a lot of things, and I frankly liked his defensive game in this one. And this was a game where good defensive play kind of stood out because it was lonely. There wasn't enough of it on the Edmonton side of the puck for sure. But that was one player who I thought brought an honest effort for how long did he play in this game? 12 minutes and 26 seconds. Basically 9 minutes at evens and 3.5 on the penalty kill.
Yeah, he cost the Edmonton Oilers a really good prospect in Michael Kesselring, who was probably the best defenseman prospect right now at Bakersfield. Maybe Marcus Niemelainen's ahead of him, but I don't. Niemelainen's window may have come and gone, whereas Kesselring has, I think, at least 1 more year left on his ELC. Yeah, he has 1 more year left on his ELC. Right. So that was a big price to pay, and they also paid a 3rd-round draft pick, I think, for the. One of them was for the cap retention, and the other one was for the player, I think. But I've really liked Nick Bjugstad as well, Bruce. For one thing, the Oilers did need, I think, more size on this team, and especially on in their bottom 6 forwards. With the forwards, every time you're running Derek Ryan and Cutter Yamamoto right away, you're going to have a smaller group just because of those 2 players. So he makes up. He's, I think, 6'5", 6'6", and he's aggressive. He led the team with 4 hits tonight. The battle won on the goal, McDavid's goal, was a physical battle that he won along the boards. I really like him on the PK. I like big, lanky players on the PK. I think it's a good idea. I think they just are more able to block off passing lanes. I never could understand why Jesse Puljujärvi never got a chance at that in Edmonton. So I think he's doing a good job there. So I agree with your assessment. He had a good game, and yeah, I liked his play just fine. What did I give him? I think I gave him a 6. 6. I mean, there wasn't a lot of offensive. There was that one offensive play was which happened in his own end. But again, as you say, he was solid on defense. Bruce, my good thing was the partnership, and I think you might have picked this partnership last game of Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard. They led the Oilers defensemen in even strength ice time, and Bouchard led all Oilers defensemen in ice time, playing he played 24:59, I think, in this game, or 24:49, 24:59, 24:59, and Ekholm scored a great goal. I mean, it was a weird goal because although it was a heck of a shot, I mean, it did go in under the crossbar, but nonetheless, it was so far out. And the goalie, Matt Murray, had a clear look at that shot. There wasn't traffic to speak of as that shot was being released, and yet he was unable to save it. So it was a strange goal, and it was a nice shot, great shot. But man, the goalie's got to have that from that far out, I think. Anyway, he scored. Evan Bouchard's he's looking good out there, Bruce. I mean, the play that we talked about where Bjugstad won the puck on the boards, he put it back to Bouchard, and Bouchard made a very smart deke with the puck, just quick feint, kind of moving back against the grain of play, and then whipped the puck up to center ice to Connor McDavid, who then cut across the ice in the offensive end and slammed home the shot. Just a very, very difficult moment for Matt Murray on that shot, I have to say, because you never know where Connor McDavid's going to put that puck when he's wide open in the slot like that. But Bouchard's offensive smarts and passing of the puck was just really top drawer, and it wasn't his only good play. He made another major contribution to a grade A shot. So he's just playing his best hockey, I think, as an NHLer right now. And I'd like to say it's exactly what I expected, because this is what I did expect when I imagined Evan Bouchard as an NHLer, having seen his skill set in Sweden and as a rookie and junior hockey. This is the player that I thought we'd see in Edmonton. Now, it was a little delayed, more than I thought it was going to be. I thought we might see it, or certainly earlier this year, but last year in the playoffs, he certainly showed flashes of this. But this is his best stretch of hockey, I think, that we've seen from Evan Bouchard. So he and Ekholm, they really got the job done. Nurse and Ceci struggled a bit more at even strength. They gave up a pretty nasty goal against, and these guys didn't. They were solid in their own end, generally speaking. There was a few mistakes by Bouchard. I don't think
too.
Yeah, there was a few mistakes, but overall, I thought they got the job done.
Yeah, 2 more assists for Bouchard tonight, and you're right, that trade couldn't have shaped up any better for him. It was not only a righty for a lefty that changed the balance on the defense, but it was the righty who was kind of in his way in terms of having the same kind of skill set, offense first, power play, driver guy, and Tyson Barrie. So getting him moved out of the way and bringing in a lefty who's not only shoring up the defense, but is actually Bush's new partner. And they're really clicking together. Like that was a whole bunch of positive arrows for Bush in that trade, and a vote of confidence, I have to say, too, from management, that they thought he was ready to take on the job, and they gave him a gold-plated opportunity. And so far, he's played, to my eyes, 6 pretty good games as in his new role, playing higher in the lineup against tougher opponents, and he's holding his own.
Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Oh boy, bad thing. Well, I could whine and complain about the lousy feed on Hockey Night in Canada for one of the most anticipated Saturday night games of the season. I don't know if you got it, because I'm not sure what you're using, but the feed on
mine was fine
on HNIC, and I got lots of sort of mine too, from people, was wretched. It was like it was shot on a flip phone or something, and it was just very, very laggy, and just the turnover rate wasn't correct. So there was that, which was poor. There was the officiating, which was not good. But I'm going to choose the bad thing, and the main reason that the Edmonton Oilers lost this game wasn't the feed, and it wasn't the refereeing. It was their own inability to handle pressure. And when Toronto ramped up the pressure on the puck battles, it seemed like the Oilers lost way more of them than they won. And they just, I mean, I'm not saying they didn't try, but Toronto raised their game to a level that Oilers could not match. And Toronto was winning all kinds of little battles, whether it was picking off passes that were ill-advised on a couple of goals, or just winning little battles along the boards, like Austin Matthews lifting Darnell Nurse's stick on what looked like a routine shoot back in after some Oilers pressure. And all of a sudden, it's a 2-1-1 the other way because of the perfect timing of Matthews' stick lift. And of course, the predictable Twitter all over Darnell Nurse again. Result that was a good play by Matthews, but it was another example of Toronto winning a puck battle against Edmonton. I think Kyler Yamamoto, he maybe lost 4 battles in a row on the first Toronto goal. Just was a half beat behind the play the whole time, behind the guy who should be checking, split second late, getting to the lane, all that stuff. And there just weren't enough one battles. Defensemen, wingers, centers, you name it. I thought just Toronto raised their intensity level, and Edmonton kind of fell apart, to be honest.
Indeed. Indeed. And it started. Okay, I thought the Oilers were going to win this game just based on like Matt Murray's play in the first period. Like, he let in 2 rancid goals. His play on Evander Kane's wraparound was like, he just lost his net completely. He was way out of position. He went way over to the side. Kane wasn't even coming into the post. Like, he wasn't even a threat to go to the net on that play as he's coming down the wing. And Murray's way over to the side, so he's in no place to stop the wraparound. And then there's Ekholm's shot, which was an outside shot, even though it was a good shot. So I thought the Oilers have this, like, they get up 3-1. This game looks in hand. The Oilers were playing hard, and they kept playing hard, to give them credit. But man, Ryan McLeod's giveaway, if he was a whipping boy right now in oil country, and he's not, because everyone likes this player and he's a good young player, but was that ever a mistake? Like, in terms of mistakes this year, Bruce, that's in the top 5. Like, they're like not counting the goalies, just mistakes, because he had 2 other options on this play. The puck's in the Edmonton end, he fetches it. Most of the Toronto guys are going to shift off. There's Mitch Marner up the ice, kind of in the middle of the ice, and there's, on one side is Cody Ceci, on the other side is Darnell Nurse. McLeod, he could have skated the puck up the ice.
Yes,
Marner wasn't pressuring him. But the easiest play was Cody Ceci. He doesn't have to pass through Mitch Marner to get to Cody Ceci. He just has to pass back against the grain to Cody Ceci. He just has to flip the puck over to the boards, and there's Cody Ceci standing there. He doesn't do that. Instead, he's going to pass the puck in front of his own goalie to Darnell Nurse, who's breaking up the ice. And he gets off a lame little wobbly pass, which Marner picks off and rapidly, with his brilliant hands, deposits behind Stuart Skinner. And in old-timey coaches used to go crazy over that kind of play. Passing the puck in front of your own net was the number 1 taboo in hockey that was decried on ice rinks across Canada. That is no longer the case at the highest level of hockey. NHL teams are much more, they just realize there's so little space on the ice, and the players are so highly skilled. You've got to try that pass. You've got to make that pass through the middle of the ice, up the middle of the ice. But it's only been in the last 5 to 10 years that NHL teams have adopted that attitude. For the Oilers, I think it's about the last 5 years. I think it was Tippett, actually, who said, let's start passing it up the middle more. And it really works. It's a good play. But that wasn't an example of it being a good play. That is a prime example of when you have obvious other plays. That's a good play when there's really tight forechecking and there's so little room up the boards. You just got to do it. You got to go up the middle because that's open. This wasn't open, and it wasn't a good pass, and there was other way better options. And McLeod deservedly got benched for the rest of the period. It was
Yep.
it was anyway. We know, I know that he is beating himself up more than anyone else for a play like that. He's not feeling good about that one. And apparently, after the game, Daniel Nugent Bowman is reporting after the game, the press wanted to talk to McLeod and Deharnay, and the Oilers leadership group said, no, you're not getting those two. You'll talk to Evander Kane and Zach Hyman. And I give credit to the Oilers leadership group. They don't need, they don't need more people beating up on them, because they will be beating up on themselves. And, and hopefully they won't listen to this podcast, because here I am beating up on them. But this is just a description of what happened, and it's fair. And it's
beating up on the plays that they made, and that's the distinction. It's possible to criticize the play without necessarily, ripping the player a new one. I mean, he's responsible for the play, but he's responsible for lots of things. And to me, what we do on an ongoing basis is we critique tonight's performance as opposed to the actors. I mean, they have good nights and bad, and this night there was some bad for sure. Indeed.
The second bad I'm going to focus on is the next goal against, which is another turnover. This one isn't as bad because the puck is being advanced to the Oilers' end, kind of a quick break up the ice counterattack, and there's a forechecker right on Vinny Deharnay.
Right.
And he tries to. It is one of those situations where all the Oilers forwards were hitting up the ice, were charging up the ice. Not enough that I would blame the guys who were charging up the ice. And Deharnay could have put the puck off the boards. Again, there was a safer play to be made than trying to pass it up the middle like he did, and it was picked off and then passed to the center of the ice. And I think it was Nylander who scored. And Fogel got puck watching and didn't cover Nylander. So there's, he was also to blame here. But this was another turnover by Vinny Deharnay. He is not obviously J.C. Tremblay with the puck, Bruce. Mm-hmm. He had mandatory 1970s sports reference. He is, but he's not Marcus Niemelainen either. I think he's a little better than that. I think he's a bit better than he's okay-ish with the puck. It's not his forte. Man, is he ever great when he doesn't have the puck, of course. And he was a force on the PK, which was needed from the Oilers because of the number of penalty kills they had. But that was a turnover. That was a mistake that he made. And again, he might have tried a more conservative play, but it wasn't nearly in the same category as the McLeod gaff.
Well, he did have pressure on him, and Toronto did press, and they forced some of these mistakes. McLeod really didn't. And in fact, the McLeod play, even if he was trying to pass to Darnell Nurse, he kind of muffed the pass because it would have gone like 5 feet behind Nurse on the other side of the ice. And instead it went right on the stick of Marner. And my recollection of the play, and I haven't gone through it in any detail, is that this was one of those plays where Toronto was pressing Oilers, and the Oilers couldn't get the puck out of their own end for, 3 hours or whatever the heck it was. And then finally, they got full possession in the corner, and the Toronto guys, I thought, were all going off for a change, and it was finally we're going to get this thing out of here. And then he does that. Puts it right on the stick of Toronto's highest point scorer, right in front of the Edmonton net with no one around him. Boom. Oh. And
good, Bruce.
That game started to get away from Edmonton in that split second. And they never really got it back.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto, they were determined to come back in this game. And maybe I'll just go to my number right away because this relates to that. My number, we're going to do our numbers now. My number is 10-1. 10-1 refers to the grade A shots. 10 this game, for 5 alarm shots. 5 alarm shots for the Toronto Maple Leafs this game. The last time the Oilers played the Leafs had 1. Oh. The Leafs were embarrassed by the Oilers last game. Such was the domination of the Edmonton Oilers in that game, the 5-2 win in Edmonton. It was an embarrassing performance by the Leafs, where they were never in the game and showed little heart, little oomph. This game, they showed just how dangerous they are as an attacking team. If you let them attack, give them space, and if they're determined and are ready to put in a good effort, this is obviously a very good team. It was nice to see the Leafs play like this on a certain level, because it's nice to see like it's such a high functioning offensive team really rev it up. And I give them full credit. They just created the most monster of chances to score those goals. I mean, they were just they, other than the Nylander goal was just a grade A shot, but the other ones were 5 alarm shots that went in. And Toronto really made a statement. I think they did that.
That was a big win for them.
They're not gonna let Edmonton run their show, and that's what happened in the first game. And I don't think overall that Toronto was, it's not like the Oilers were dominated like the Leafs were in their Leafs loss. Edmonton actually had good fight in this game, and it was really close. And McDavid had a chance. Warren Fogle set him up on the doorstep about 7 minutes into the third period. And if McDavid had scored, it would have been a 1-goal game and game on. That was Edmonton's last best chance. I felt that right at the moment, like that's it, the game's over when he didn't score, because they were down 2, and that was such a great chance, and you'd expect them almost to score, even though it's not. It wasn't, and it's not like an 80% scoring chance play. It was more like a 40-50% chance for McDavid.
Fogle had the first chance, and he put it over the net, and then he recovered and made a good pass to McDavid. But
did he ever?
Anyway,
what's your number?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 5 minutes and 59 seconds. And that was the turning point in this game. From 12:56 of the second, Mitch Marner scores. 14:49 of the second, William Nylander scores. This was the one poor goal on Skinner. I thought he really looked weak. The slider through the 5-holder. 15:56, then Tavares scores. And 18:55, Tavares scores again on the power play on a kind of a lucky bounce off a shin pad that went back, and a good play by Tavares to actually wheel and fire it on the net before Skinner was ready. And basically the Oilers collapsed in that part of the game. I mean, they won the rest of the game 4-3, but they lost that part of the game 4-0. And they just couldn't stop the bleeding. And it was, just the Toronto pressure just got to them. And they weren't, they couldn't get it over their own blue line. It was just, it was very frustrating to watch. And there was just before that, when it was 3-1, and we were kind of getting to the midway part of the game, and I'm thinking, maybe this is it, that the team has finally solved it, and we're going to cruise into the playoffs, and we can finally put to rest this business of having to clinch a playoff berth in the last 3 games, the regular season. But nope, they're going to go down to the end again, because they just can't seem to put it together for any length of time. And as for bonus numbers, 2-2 road trip with 15 goals for and 18 goals against. And that includes just 6 goals for in the 2 wins, but only 4 goals against. But getting outscored by an outrageous 14-9 in the 2 games they lost, 7-5 and 7-4 on the 2 Saturday night games. And both times they just had a defensive nightmare, with Jack Campbell kind of stealing the show on the first one, but it wasn't just his problem. It was not a good team effort. And then against Buffalo and Boston, they were fine. And then tonight it was just more real shoddy defensive play.
Just and not even like just weird, like it was almost like weird defensive play, like Nurse's mistake and Deharnay's mistake and McLeod. It was like one guy making a mistake that caved it all in. It wasn't like a multiple snafus on the same play necessarily, but that's how it goes sometimes. Bruce, on this road trip, this road trip, excuse me, this last stretch of 7 games, I had mentioned this earlier this year, how worried I was, because it was Boston, Toronto, Winnipeg, Buffalo, Boston, Toronto. And when the Oilers weren't playing well, and I looked ahead on the schedule, I was thinking, oh man, that's going to be brutal. Turns out the Oilers won 4 out of those 7 games. So I'm well pleased, actually. 4 out of I would have taken, like, heading in, if someone said you can win 4 out of the 7, I would have said that's really good. And that was really good. That was a very good stretch of hockey. They were a little lucky to beat the Bruins, and maybe a little unlucky tonight, with the refs and with the McLeod's mistake. But I mean, that's a mistake. It's an you own yourself with that one. But I just I still think that's a good record for wins in those 7 games against teams like that. Good for the
Yeah.
Oilers. It's
Well,
not bad at all.
they split with the Jets, they split with the Bruins, they split with the Leafs, and they beat the Sabres. So they won. I saw it as a 7-game series when I was looking for 4 wins as well. 1-2 would have been a lot better though. Like they only got 8 points from the 7 games, so they've done nothing to separate themselves from the pack other than they got through this stretch of games. And now the onus is on them to, when they are playing weaker teams, they got to win those games. Just take those games seriously when you're playing. I don't care if it's San Jose or Arizona or Anaheim. Take it to them. Put the pressure on them and overwhelm those other teams. When you're the better team, prove it. Tonight the Leafs were the better team, and it's hard to accept or swallow for Leafs or Oilers fans, especially those who hate the Leafs. But the Leafs were the better team tonight and deserved the win.
I see the Avs beat the Arizona in overtime.
I hate that when a good team steals the second point in overtime against a team they should beat for fun in regulation.
Yeah. Oh well. Alrighty, Bruce.
Winnipeg won their game in overtime as well.
Vegas won.
Vegas won. Yeah, this is not a good day for the Edmonton Oilers, and not quite sure what the answer is, but
well, they've got some tough games coming up too. They got Ottawa, who's still battling for a playoff spot. They've got Dallas, I think, and Seattle. So and then they get some easier games to round out the year. But no, that's it's not going to be a cakewalk. You're right. I win tonight, and suddenly things look very rosy. Like when the Flames lost recently, their chance of winning the playoffs went down like 14% in one night.
Last night, when
chance of making the playoffs,
Anaheim?
Yeah, went down 14. I think it was 14%, like something like from 42 to 28%.
Yeah.
Dom Lashishin of the Athletic was reporting. So that was one loss can be significant, and I think the Oilers still have they've got at least probably a 70 or 80% or 90% chance of making the playoffs, somewhere in there. I'm not sure, but it's pretty good. But
they're in a good spot. But they don't seem to be able to get the separation where they're kind of on cruise control. Last year it came late in the year, and other years they've made it. It's come late in the year, possibly the year of the Canadian division, they were kind of cruising by the last month. That whole season was kind of different, but they don't seem to have the gift of making it easy on themselves.
No, they do not.
When you're leading 3-1 halfway through a game and you wind up giving up 6 goals in the second half of the game, enough said.
Just as a brief aside before we go, I was thinking about the Bjugstad's play tonight, and I was thinking about them trading Kesselring. And I checked out our prospect listing, and yeah, the Oilers cupboard is really bare when it comes to prospects now. So on our prospect list from September, the highest rated defenseman was Philip Broberg. We rated him as the top Oilers prospect.
Right.
Next was Marcus Niemelainen at 6, whose window may or may not be closing. I think this is his last year on his ELC, is it? Is he on his ELC this year?
He signed. He signed. I think he signed a 2-year extension, and this is the first year of that.
Okay. So he could be okay. Anyway, so Niemelainen was 6th, Samorukov 7th. Samorukov's been traded.
Yep.
Deharnay's now an Oiler, so he's graduated, and Broberg's graduated. So there's the 2 young defensemen who have graduated, right? So that's good. Kesselring was 13th overall, and he's been traded. And then next is in the system next season. If Niemelainen's, I guess Niemelainen will be in the system unless someone picks him up on waivers, unlikely. But it's Luka Munzenberger, was 17th. And after that, Phil Kemp, who was 19th. And after that, Maximus Wanner, who was 21st. Now, Wanner's been suspended for the year in the Western Hockey League for some kind of disciplinary infraction that nobody knows what it was, but it was serious enough that with about 20 games left in the season, he and 3 other teammates were suspended. So, and I think he's got 1 more year of junior eligibility left because he's a March 2003 birth date. Although I could be.
He'll be turning pro this fall.
Oh, he will, eh?
Yeah.
So I guess it'd be Wanner.
Since the draw, he got drafted in 21.
Wanner and Niemelainen will be the top prospect demon if Munzenberger doesn't turn pro, and I don't suspect that he will because he's still got a lot to develop in his game, I think. So I just, I think the Oilers are going to be drafting a defenseman. Do they have a 2nd-round pick this year? Are they?
Nope.
Maybe they can trade.
No, wait a minute. They got a 2nd. They traded the 1st, 3rd, and 4th.
So they got a 2nd. That's what I
in
thought.
The first 120.
Yeah. Okay.
130 in the draft.
I'll bet you they draft a defenseman for sure with that pick, and maybe they'll trade someone and get a pick. I don't know if they can get a 2nd pick for anyone that they trade, but I suspect they're going to trade 1 or 2 players anyway. Bruce, let's leave it there.
Yeah.
Thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast. Oh, I forgot to mention they got Phil Kemp also in the minors.
Yeah, he's moved up on Munzenberger and others in my rankings, but
yeah, he may be higher. Okay. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Good night.